So this is a pier on the bridge side of Crissy Field, far end of Crissy Field. Kind of away from some of the wave noise, but looking straight at the bridge, as you can hear.
A few years ago, I made a film about the Guinness Book of Records, and as part of it, I went to Minneapolis to see the quietest place on earth, which at that time was a little room in a recording studio where, incidentally, the song Funky Town had been recorded many years earlier. It was not just any little room, though. It was what's called an anechoic chamber, which is a kind of super quiet room where people do research. The anechoic chamber at Orfield Labs in Minneapolis was actually certified by the Guinness Book of Records as the quietest place on Earth. For you nerds out there, it's minus 13 decibels, which for you non-nerds is just super quiet. It was bizarre, that kind of silence. Like nothing I'd ever experienced before. The composer John Cage once had a life-changing experience in an anechoic chamber. More on that later. But as I was filming this shot, it hit me. This is an impossible experience to communicate. No matter how hard I tried to get really good sound, you are hearing noise from the camera we used. You're hearing the sound of this signal going over the internet, the sound of the room you're in right now. Sitting in the anechoic chamber, I realized there's no way to truly communicate what I'm hearing or for me to really know what you're hearing. Sound is a radically subjective experience. As the writer George Eliot said, we are all islands. But at the same time, I am speaking these words that are vibrating your eardrums, then the 3 tiny bones in your middle ear, and then the fluid of your inner ear, and we are connected. Sound, more than maybe any other sense, has the power to transport us through space and time and to connect us to the world and each other. So we are alone, but also connected. And that's true in a figurative sense, but also here right now. JD and I are both in our apartments. You are probably in your house too. Yes, we are all islands, but maybe JD's music and these words and 7 different sounds can somehow bridge the spaces between us.
If you're just joining us, this experience will be way better if you're not sitting in front of your computer where you do email and Facebook and Zoom meetings all day. The best place to be right now is in bed.
Yep.
Your bed is such a nice spot, and we want you to feel relaxed and comfortable. If you can't get in bed, maybe at least lie on a couch, or sit in a comfortable chair, or go outside and sit on the stoop. Oh, and are you wearing headphones? We hope so. We'll give you about 20 seconds to get situated.
JD and I are gonna turn off the video now. There'll be nothing to see from here on out, so please close your eyes and use your imagination. This is cinema for the ears. Sound number 1. It's a little warm-up sound. With this, I'm going to use what's called a binaural microphone and walk around you shaking a small box of matches. I'm coming around behind you to your left side now. Now I'm coming back to your right side. Now I'm going up high and down low. The other side, high and low. I'm going to light a match by your right ear now, but don't worry, I won't get too close. We hear things spatially like this in real life, but until very recently, movies didn't sound like this, and even fancy stereos didn't either. They still mostly don't. This kind of three-dimensional audio where you can hear me light this match right next to your left ear is new, at least in documentary. Hopefully, using space with these sounds will help with that little magic trick that's at the heart of cinema, the way it transports us.
So I would say that I look after all of the wildlife sounds that the library has and all of the environmental sounds. I've got weather, I've got water, I've got rainforests, I've got blackbirds, I've got frogs, and I look after all of this.
Cheryl Tipp is the curator of natural sounds at the British Library's Sound Archive. She's the one who told me about Moho bricatus, which is the scientific name for a little bird that looked like a sparrow and lived on the Hawaiian Islands. The Moho bricatus was decimated by development in the last century. By the 1980s, there was only a pair of them left. In 1982, a hurricane struck and killed the female, so now there was only one left, the male. The next year, scientists recorded his mating call, obviously a song that would never get a response.
And so we have the recording. It's not just of an extinct species, but it's the very last individual of that species. I mean, it's the most poetic recording, the most sad recording, you could ever have.
Sound number 2, the mating call of the Moho bricatus. May 25th, 1983, notice the soft rain in the background. And if you listen closely, you'll hear distant thunder. This is Malaga, Spain. It's May 2012, and there's a huge nationwide protest against government cuts to education. A group of 5,000 demonstrators marches on a road that eventually enters a tunnel. You know that thing where you go into a tunnel and yell? Woo! Woo! There's something so oddly pleasurable about hearing your echo. Can you imagine 5,000 people having that experience at the same time? Sound number 3, the sound of a protest in a tunnel. The French sociologist Émile Durkheim coined a term 100 years ago, collective effervescence. It's the feeling of giddiness, almost a kind of intoxication that comes from losing yourself in a crowd. Imagine we're in a room. You're in the middle. JD is over on your left.
Hi.
And I'm here on your right. Now I'm gonna move over here.
And I'm gonna move way over here.
Now I'm gonna get right up close to the microphone.
And I'm gonna go behind you.
JD, John Cage once said, which is more musical, a truck passing by a factory or a truck passing by a music school?
That's pretty good. But I heard a lady on the radio once say, sound is like touch at a distance.
Wow, that's really good. Sound is like touch at a distance. And it pertains to sound number 4, which takes me back to around 2010. I was living in San Francisco and making a film about fog. My younger brother had recently died. He'd taken his own life, actually, and I was a mess. Back then, I was thinking about the fleeting nature of things all the time. Meanwhile, I was going through the motions of making this film about fog, which seemed oddly appropriate. I did a bunch of interviews for the film, and most people said pretty predictable things. But then there was this one guy, an old San Francisco writer named Harold Gilliam. Harold was in his 90s and one of those old people who can't sleep. And when he talked about being awake and alone late at night and hearing the foghorns, it got me.
I hope they never take off the foghorns. They provide a sense of people who are asleep or half asleep or somehow staying up at night, giving them a sense of the bay, that there are ships out there in the bay, that the ocean is rolling out there, and that the earth is turning, and they're part of the whole process. It's a deep feeling that's hard to explain. A feeling of community with the turning of the earth and the apparent motions of the stars and the motions of the tides. This whole process of being part of this total community of life can be a very intense feeling.
Did you know that the average person takes 20,000 breaths a day? Sound number 5 is the sound of breathing, or in this case, the sound of JD breathing. There's so much to say about the sound of breath. There's the sense of menace it took on this year with I Can't Breathe and Corona. But then there's also the fact that it's a solitary activity that deeply connects us. We all share the air. Maybe it's best if we just listen and let the sound of JD's breath slow our own. I know. I don't like audience participation either, but this one's easy. If you let your breathing just fall into this rhythm, you might feel a strange sense of well-being. This is a musical interlude. You know that thing where it's really quiet and then all of a sudden somebody farts? How awkward that is? I feel like I'm about to do something like that right now. JD, you were the one who told me about the Orgasm Library. That's where this sound file comes from. Sound number 6. The Orgasm Library was created by a Spanish company that sells adult products online. People anonymously upload recordings of themselves. It's less porn than it is about sex positivity. I mentioned farting jokingly, but it's actually kind of apt. Both farting and the sound of sex remind us of how intensely physical we are. I wonder, are you embarrassed by these sounds? Turned on? Annoyed? I guess it depends on who you are. You might be a horny teenager, or an 87-year-old thrilled to be having sex with her 92-year-old boyfriend. Or you might be going through a painful breakup. It's a reminder that so much of sound is in the ear of the beholder. Me? I'm kind of embarrassed, but drawn to these sounds too. I guess I'm reminded of a quote from Lee Bowery. Embarrassment is the great unexplored emotion.
Okay, we are in the backyard of Aenea's house. So this is back away from the house a bit. I'm about probably 30 yards, 40 yards away. All right, here we go.
Sound number 7, and this is the final sound. The sound of Aenea Lockwood's backyard. Aenea Lockwood is a composer. She's 81 years old, lives in a leafy little town north of New York City, and is one of the smartest people about sound and listening that I know.
It's obvious that we experience sound through our bodies, no? Hearing is a whole body experience.
In one of our interviews, I asked Aenea what music she was listening to, and she said she couldn't listen to music. Her partner of almost 50 years, the composer Ruth Anderson, died a year ago, and music stirs up too many feelings for her. Instead, Aenea says she goes out on her back porch and listens to the sound of the world, and that soothes her.
I really love to go out barefoot, go outside, just stand there listening to everything going on. And this is a lovely thing to do at dusk, as the soundscape sort of shifts from the day into the evening. Just listening to everything, knowing that the worms under your feet are sensing the vibrations you're responding to, which are going through your body, and an owl somewhere off on a tree is also listening, and insects are listening with you. The tree roots are listening, thinking of listening as sensing vibration. Everything is listening with you. So you're not so much listening to it, which suggests separation. You're not separate from it. You're entirely a part of it. You're listening with it, with everything. It's a nice feeling. It's a lovely feeling.
I wonder where you are right now. Abu Dhabi, Montreal, Lansing, Michigan. Wherever you are, I'm happy to be connected in this strange way and sharing the present moment.
It's now time for us to say goodnight. But first, remember the quietest place on Earth from about 20 minutes ago? I mentioned that John Cage had a life-changing experience in an anechoic chamber. It was 1951. He wanted to know what total silence was like, so he went to an anechoic chamber at Harvard. Once inside, he heard two faint noises, one high and one low. So he complained to the engineer, and the engineer told him that one of the sounds he was hearing was his nervous system, and the other was the circulation of his blood. We are all islands. But maybe a better way to think of it is, it's like we're all little boats on the water, each of us, and we've tied up together to make a flotilla for part of the evening. But it's now time to loosen the ropes and each of us go our own way. This is a peace without an end. Or we'll each have our own end. It's kind of like life that way. Anea Lockwood has recorded the sound of rivers for 50 years. It's another thing I love about her. Here's a recording she made of the Danube. Listen for as long or as short as you like.
Good night.